Threshing area, basically similar. I mean, STS versus Walker, still similar job, just a few different components to look at. Check your concave. If it's starting to get, the round bar is going to be a common one in the STSs. You want to make sure you're feeling, reach up in there, feel it, make sure that you're still round. You're not getting any flat spots in it. If you get flat spots, you're going to run into some cracked kernels and poor threshing. Also, while you got all the shields off, make sure that you spin the rotor over, look at all your threshing elements. If it's a Walker, make sure you're looking at the rasp bars. Make sure you don't have any big dings in them. Filler plates are good. Look for cracks, chunks missing. If you get a chunk missing, you're going to get vibration.
On the round bar concaves in early beans, we always run into some tougher pods, green pods, end up in the tank. The way we can get away threshing those, we got to put concave inserts in there. They go in the first two sections of the concaves. They snap in. Only takes 15-20 minutes to put them in there after the initial installation. They work great in small grain also. Gives us a little bit more threshing capability. Just need to make sure we remove them after beans. Otherwise, we end up cracking some kernels in corn. So, one good thing to look for.
Similar thing as we come back up to the threshing elements, spin it over, check all your fingers on the rotor, make sure you don't have one broke off. The spacer blocks are in there on these. The later ones now coming with them in there, or
No,
still on top?
Installed here.
Okay.
We add those spacers in to create a little bit more clearance between the separator tines and the separator grates. Gives the material more area to actually do its job and separate in there. Breaks less cobs also, get less chance for cob in the tank. A lot of times we put them in during initial installation. They don't come in the factory that way. The earlier models had the spacers in all the way to the back. The last few years with the S series, they didn't put them in the backs because of the rethreshers on the bigger machines. You can add them in on the 70s and the 60s and the S670, the S660. You can add those in on them. So if you don't see them there, it doesn't mean you can't put them in.
Do you take them out if you do small grain?
No,
You don't.
doesn't help. Not really going to help you. We usually put them in to begin with and never worry about them. If we do get to the point later on in the machine's life where those separator tines are wearing down, we can put them back in there so that the combine still does the same performance.
So we got our pit arms for running the chaffer. Big thing to watch for, check your bearings. Seen some bearings fail, rubber bushings on all these.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Big thing is if you don't catch it, chaffer's real light. It's basically just tin. And if you get a little bit of wobble in that, it's not going to take long, and that thing's going to be just mangled and fall apart. And that gets to be an expensive project. It's pretty time consuming. It's a lot easier just to make sure the bearings and all your rubber bushings, isolators are good. It only takes a few minutes.
The arms in the back here also controlling the same system, so make sure your rubber bushings are still intact there. We have seen some arms break, pretty rare. Usually there's been another problem up front that causes the issue back here. Discharge beater, it's got 5 wings on it. He might correct me, the newer ones might be 6, but they've got a little 1/4-inch chunk of metal. It's about 1.25 inches wide that wears out. About every 2 years they start breaking and sections will start falling off. Of course, this is vibration issues. If you get a chunk bigger than about that falling out of there, you're going to want to look at replacing them. Otherwise, you're just going to add to more vibration. And vibration on these things just is like going around with a wrench and turning bolts loose. It's just asking for the next problem anyway. Unloading auger up here. Easy thing to look for on it is the bevel gears underneath. There is a grease zerk up there that we need to be greasing. It's kind of a pain to get at, really tough to see. But the bevel gears in there, if you see those start to wear goofy, that's a good sign that there's a bearing going out up above there. It's a lot easier to take that gearbox out of there and replace that bearing when the grain tank's not full. Unloading auger chain, you maybe want to shorten it one time. After that, just replace it. You want to make sure it stays tight, otherwise it can actually drop down to that guard and catch that, and it'll rip that shield off of there. Cause a couple other headaches, nothing too serious. Loading auger belts are usually plain as day to see now. They've got them right out in the open. If you've got any cracks in them, replace them ahead of time. It'll just save you some downtime in the fall. Chopper belts coming back, same thing. You got cracks in them, replace them before we get to that point. Chopper you want to put in high speed for beans, low speed for corn. You want to make sure when you switch over to corn that you take your stationary knives out. If you forget to do that, you usually start breaking knives almost immediately. If you go too long that way, these bolts unscrew here and the whole thing will fall out. Sometimes you'll find it back, sometimes not. Chopper knives on the rotor in here, if you start losing those, you're going to feel it in the cab. You're going to have a definite vibration back there. You're going to want to stop and either pull one off the other side to keep you going or get it replaced as soon as you can. That vibration will just crack up the whole rear end. The chopper will almost fall right off the machine if you let it go too long.
Talking about greasing, a lot of the newer combines are coming with the stickers, show you where to grease, how many hours to grease. Best thing to do, just use the book. Even in the shop, a lot of times techs are grabbing the book, walking around, make sure you don't miss any grease zerks.
Before we get too far away, shoe augers. When we have this cover open in the front, grab your shoe augers, make sure they're still tight. They got bearings front and back. Usually every year our shop gets 1 or 2 combines coming through. Shoe auger's still full of beans. Didn't finish in beans, but it's full of beans. The bearing went out in the front, and it's got a set of bevel gears up there. If the bearing goes out, it pushes far enough away that bevel gear won't drive it anymore, and you end up with that auger sitting full the entire season. Don't think it's a big deal, but that changes the entire capacity of the machine because all the crop is divided to the other section of the chaffer as it comes off those augers. So you're overloading one side, and it's actually going to slow you down. So just take a look at them now and again, make sure they're tight. A lot of times you'll actually hear them squeaking when they're going out. They don't turn super fast. The sensor that's on the shoe auger system is on the main drive for the whole system, not each individual auger. So it is something we need to keep an eye on. The rotor drive, we also have to set like the variable speed up front. It's a 5/16 to 1/4 inch gap. We want to slow it down as far as we can get. That means in the center section there, we want the belt all the way, the shivs together and the belt all the way to the top. If we don't have 5/16 to 1/4 inch, we got to loosen up the bolts on that gear case and then turn the tensioner, push it farther away to get it to tighten up a little bit.
For additional information regarding pre-harvest checks on your combine or our uptime service inspection programs, please contact your local Frontier Ag and Turf Service Department today. Thank you for viewing our Combine Essentials video. We hope you have a great day.